There are some things a woman will say that seem harmless, but the moment those words leave her lips, they tell you everything you need to know about how she sees you, about how she values men, and more importantly, about how your future with her will play out if you don't walk away. Welcome to Time-Tested Advice, where modern men learn wisdom and truths. Welcome to Time-Tested Advice. I'm your host, Jennifer. If you're new here, make sure to stick around because today we're diving into a conversation that could save you from wasting months or even years of your life on the wrong woman. Let's be honest. Some men ignore the red flags because they're trying to prove they're good enough. They believe they can fix her, that maybe, just maybe, she'll change. But I want you to understand this right now. When a woman speaks from a place of contempt, entitlement, or avoidance, she's not just talking. She's showing you who she is. And a woman will always reveal herself through her words, even when her actions are still hiding the truth. These aren't just phrases. They're warnings. And if you don't take them seriously, they'll cost you your self-respect, your time, and your peace. Today, I'm sharing 7 things a woman might say that should make you walk away the second you hear them. These aren't opinions. These are the patterns we've seen play out again and again in real relationships. And if you want to protect your masculinity, your mission, and your sanity, you need to listen closely. You're too sensitive. It sounds harmless, just a passing comment, maybe even meant as a joke. But don't underestimate the weight of those words. When a woman tells you this, she's not giving feedback. She's issuing a subtle form of emotional control. What she's really doing is shutting down the conversation. She's telling you, in no uncertain terms, that your feelings are a problem, not the situation, not her behavior, you. And that's the twist, because now, instead of addressing your valid concern, the spotlight shifts. Suddenly, you're not expressing a boundary, you're overreacting. You're not speaking your truth, you're being dramatic. It's no longer about what hurt you, it's about how you're supposedly too weak to handle reality. But here's the truth most men don't hear enough. Sensitivity isn't weakness. It's awareness. It's depth. It's the strength to feel something and not run from it. A high-value man doesn't numb himself to keep others comfortable. He speaks up when something feels off. And any woman who genuinely respects you will want to understand your emotional world, not weaponize it against you. But if she calls you too sensitive, especially in moments where you're being honest, that's not just dismissive, it's manipulative. It's her way of dodging responsibility while making you second-guess yourself. That's emotional gaslighting. And if it keeps happening, you're not in a partnership, you're in a power struggle. Remember, a relationship built on respect makes space for both people's feelings. It doesn't silence one to protect the ego of the other. So if you find yourself constantly apologizing for your emotions, constantly being made to feel like your heart is a flaw, it's time to reevaluate who you're giving access to. Because you don't need to be less sensitive. You just need to be with someone who sees your sensitivity for what it really is: strength. My ex was toxic. At first, this might sound like emotional honesty. You might even feel a sense of closeness, like she's sharing something vulnerable with you. But take a step back and really listen. Because when every man she's dated before you was a narcissist, abusive, manipulative, or just plain crazy, it's not just a red flag. It's a flashing billboard that says, "I take no accountability." And here's the truth most men overlook. When someone constantly paints themselves as the victim in every past relationship, they're not opening up. They're controlling the narrative. Because in that version of the story, they're always innocent, and the people they chose to be with were always at fault. But ask yourself, if every ex was so toxic, what does that say about her judgment? What does that say about her self-awareness? Or even more important, what happens when you do something she doesn't like? You become the next villain, the next toxic man she'll talk about. Not because you were actually harmful, but because you challenged her, held her accountable, or simply didn't live up to a fantasy she built in her head. That kind of woman isn't looking for growth. She's looking for someone to blame. And the truth is, no amount of kindness, patience, or being different will save you from that role if she hasn't done the hard work of healing and owning her part in the past. Emotionally mature women speak differently. They say things like, "It didn't work out, and here's what I learned," or "We both had issues, and I've grown from it." They don't villainize every ex to make themselves look better. They take responsibility, even if it's uncomfortable, because that's what growth looks like. That's what emotional safety sounds like. But when a woman demonizes every man before you, she's not telling you a story about them. She's giving you a preview of how she handles conflict, how she deals with accountability, and how she'll talk about you if things go wrong. Don't ignore that. You are not a savior. You're not here to rescue someone from their own patterns. You're here to build something real, with someone who's done the work to be real with themselves. So don't fall for the sob story if it's laced with bitterness and blame. Listen closely, and if all you hear is victimhood and zero ownership, do yourself a favor. Don't try to fix it. Walk away before you become the next chapter in a story she refuses to learn from. I want a man who can handle me. At first, it sounds like she's flirting with strength, like she's teasing you to see if you're man enough. But if you really listen, that line isn't playful. It's a warning. What she's actually saying is, "I expect to be difficult, and instead of working on myself, I want you to absorb the fallout." That's not a challenge. It's a setup. A woman who uses this phrase is letting you know she's going to bring drama, intensity, and emotional chaos into the relationship, and she expects you to prove your worth by surviving it. But a high-value man doesn't entertain chaos disguised as passion. He doesn't stick around just to prove he's strong enough to deal with toxic behavior. He seeks peace, respect, and emotional maturity. Real strength isn't about how much dysfunction you can take. It's about having the courage to walk away from it. A woman who wants to be handled isn't looking for partnership. She's looking for dominance. She's trying to control the dynamic by forcing you into a reactive role, always calming her down, always making things right, always chasing her approval. And over time, that kind of relationship will drain you. You'll spend more time managing her storms than building anything real. So when you hear that phrase, don't see it as a test of your masculinity. See it as what it is, a red flag. Because you're not here to be her emotional babysitter. You're here to lead, build, and protect your peace. Don't settle for someone who wants to be handled. Choose someone who wants to grow with you. Before we keep going, I hope you're enjoying the video so far. If you are, go ahead and like and subscribe. And while you're at it, drop a comment below. Share your thoughts or just say, "Hello." I'd really appreciate it. I'm just being honest. Sounds harmless, right? Even noble, like she's doing you a favor by giving it to you straight. But let's make one thing crystal clear. Honesty without empathy is just cruelty with a pretty label. When a woman says something sharp, demeaning, or flat out disrespectful, then hides behind the excuse of just being honest, what she's really doing is testing your emotional boundaries. She's not communicating truth. She's asserting dominance. She wants to see if you'll tolerate the sting as long as it's wrapped in a truth bomb. But truth, real truth, isn't meant to humiliate. It's meant to build bridges. It's meant to bring clarity, not chaos. See, some women use honesty as a shield to deflect responsibility. They say the most cutting things, then act like you're the problem for being hurt. It's not real talk. It's calculated. It's a way to position themselves as bold and unapologetic while quietly eroding your self-esteem. And if you let it slide once, it becomes a pattern. The jabs get sharper, the tone colder, the care less visible, all under the same tired banner. I'm just being honest. A high-value man doesn't confuse cruelty with courage. He knows the difference between someone who's brave enough to speak their truth and someone who weaponizes truth to feel superior. Because there's a way to say hard things that still honors the person you're saying them to. There's a way to express dissatisfaction, concern, or even disappointment without using words like a blade. But when a woman crosses that line, when she cuts deep, then shrugs it off with, "What? I'm just being honest." She's not being real. She's being reckless. And she's seeing if you'll make excuses for it. Don't. Don't justify it. Don't explain it away. Don't convince yourself that being strong means being silent. It doesn't. Strength is standing up for your emotional integrity. It's knowing when honesty becomes hostility and walking away from it. Because a woman who truly respects you won't use truth to wound you. She'll use it to connect, to grow, and to bring you closer. Anything less is manipulation disguised as virtue, and you deserve better than that. I'm not like other girls. At first, it sounds charming, maybe even confident, like she's self-aware, different, in a way that feels refreshing. But slow down and listen closer, because often that line isn't confidence, it's camouflage. It's not about being unique, it's about being better. And not better through action or integrity, but through comparison, through tearing other women down. See, when a woman says, "I'm not like other girls," she's not just setting herself apart, she's signaling that she needs to be seen as above them. And that's not strength. That's rooted in insecurity. Because truly confident women don't need to diminish others to shine. They just are, secure, solid, silent in their self-assurance. But a woman who plays the "I'm different" card right out of the gate, she's trying to win you over through separation, not substance. She wants you to believe she's rare, special, unlike the rest. But ask yourself this: what happens when the act drops? What happens when you realize she's not so different after all? Or worse, that her way of feeling important is by constantly judging everyone around her. If she can't respect other women, she won't respect you for long either. Because that pattern of comparison, that need to elevate herself by putting others down, it doesn't stop at her peers. It will turn on you. Today, she says, "I'm not like other girls." Tomorrow, she says, "You're just like every other guy." That same energy will boomerang, and you'll be the new target. Your choices, your past, your emotions. Suddenly, you're the one who's not enough. All because the relationship was built on being better than, not being real. So here's the truth. A high-value woman doesn't need to make announcements about how different she is. She shows it. Through her peace, through how she treats others, through how she talks about people when they're not in the room. She doesn't need to be not like other girls, because she respects those other girls too. And that kind of grounded confidence, that's the kind you can build something with. Don't fall for the performance. Pay attention to the patterns. Anyone can say they're rare, but only character proves it. You're insecure for thinking that. Sounds like a casual jab, right? But don't be fooled. This line is a precision strike, one of the most manipulative weapons she can use. Because when a man dares to bring up a concern, express discomfort, or even dare to set a boundary, this is how she flips the script. She doesn't engage with what you said, she attacks why you said it. And suddenly, the spotlight's no longer on her behavior. It's on your character. This isn't a misunderstanding, it's a strategy. This is about control. It's not about clearing up confusion or resolving tension. It's about shifting blame. She wants you to feel like your thoughts aren't valid, your instincts aren't trustworthy, and your boundaries are just signs of weakness. And if you internalize that message, if you start to believe that speaking up makes you insecure, she's won. Because now you're second-guessing yourself instead of holding her accountable. High-value men don't confuse confidence with silence. A confident man doesn't stay quiet just to keep the peace. He knows that self-respect sometimes sounds like confrontation. He knows that real connection can't exist without honesty. And he knows that asking for clarity, for loyalty, for consistency, none of that makes him insecure. It makes him aware. It makes him intentional. It makes him strong. But a woman who's quick to label you insecure the moment you voice a concern, she's not trying to understand you. She's trying to dismiss you. She's telling you, "I don't want to deal with this, so I'm going to make you feel like the problem." That's not communication. That's deflection. If you don't do this, I'll find someone who will. That's not a conversation. That's a loaded gun aimed at your self-worth. It's not a boundary, not a compromise, and definitely not love. It's a threat wrapped in entitlement, designed to push you into submission. And the most dangerous part? It's framed as a test, one that dares you to either fold or prove yourself useful. But let's be clear, when a woman uses this line, she's telling you exactly how she sees you. You're not a man to be respected, heard, or understood. You're a utility, a tool, a placeholder until someone better comes along. That's not a relationship. That's a negotiation with someone who already sees you as disposable. Think about the energy behind those words. If you don't do this, that's not a discussion, it's an ultimatum. I'll find someone who will. That's the game. She's dangling the idea of replacement over your head like a weapon. She wants you to believe that your entire worth comes down to your ability to please her in that moment. That if you don't bend, you'll be alone. And too many men fall into this trap, thinking they're maintaining peace by giving in. But all they're really doing is sacrificing their masculinity on the altar of fear. A high-value man doesn't flinch when threatened. He doesn't negotiate with emotional blackmail, because he knows something critical. If a woman truly values him, she doesn't threaten to leave. She leans in, she communicates, she collaborates, she builds. But when she's already willing to walk over something small, something she could have talked through, then she was never truly invested. She was only ever invested in what you could give her. So when you hear this line, don't explain yourself. Don't defend. Don't debate. Look her in the eye and say, then go. That's not bitterness. That's clarity. That's strength. Because the moment you show that you're not afraid to lose someone who doesn't value you, you reclaim your power. And that kind of strength, it doesn't beg. It doesn't chase. It doesn't fold. It walks, calm, clear, and unapologetic. At the end of the day, relationships should be built on mutual respect, not emotional warfare. If she plays games, shifts blame, or shames you for speaking up, she's not your partner. She's your opponent. A high-value man sees through the tactics. He knows when it's time to lead and when it's time to leave. So don't let yourself be manipulated into silence or submission. Stand tall, set the standard, and always choose peace over chaos. If this message resonated with you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment below. Whether you've got something to share or just want to say hello, I read every single one.